Synopsis will...
Hey everyone, Genome here, coming to the next episode in my Hack and or Slash series. This is the series where I take a look back at horror franchises of old, usually ones that I enjoyed in my youth, and see if they still hold up to today's standards. So, previously I have reviewed the entire Friday the 13th series, and now I've moved on to the next logical choice, the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series. So, for those intrepid viewers of mine out there who may realize that my last one was a review of Dream Warriors Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Well, go figure, I am on part 4 now, The Dream Master.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master.
So I'm very much looking forward to this review, as I remember liking this one quite a bit in my youth. So, quick note. One of the travails of being a YouTuber is I actually recorded this review earlier today. It was 30 minutes long, and I think well done. And then I guess I had my phone a little too close to the mic, and all I heard, I still heard my normal voice, but all I heard was it warps the mic badly, so it was unusable.
Example.
Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with the next episode of my Hack and or Slash review series. This is the series where I take a look back at horror franchises of old, basically ones that I finally remember from my childhood, and see if they still hold up today. I will not bring inferior product to my viewing public, if at all possible, but yeah, just one of those things. So, here we go with round 2. So, first off, I'll give a real quick brief synopsis on the movie. And then at the end, I'll go with my pros and cons and then give an overall rating. So let's start off with a quick, brief intro. This is one of the best Nightmare on Elm Street movies you'll watch, if not the best.
Are you kidding? Whoa. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Okay. Normally I don't spoil it so far ahead of time, but this movie gets a ton of hate for the wrong reasons. Maybe upon watching, if you're one of those haters, maybe I'll have some things said here that will maybe sway you a little bit from thinking it's so terrible. But, you know, everyone's opinion is like Gibraltar, you know, it doesn't always change so easily. So, but yeah, I think this movie gets hate for the wrong reasons. So let's go into the plot, and then I'll kind of list said reasons interspersed throughout and afterwards. And so how do we lead off this movie? That's right, with a dream sequence. In keeping with all the other movies in the franchise, we're going to start off in the dream world. Hey, it's only fitting, right? And the audience have come to expect that. Well, we are treated to a returning character for this, Kristen. You remember Kristen from part 3? Except for Kristen is no longer Patricia Arquette. Kristen is now Tuesday Night. Tuesday Night can also be heard singing the song over the title sequence. So, they don't really look much alike other than being blonde. They don't look anything like physically. They don't sound alike. They don't act much alike either. But Tuesday is not bad as Kristen. Once again, some people will hate on her. She's not as good at the nonverbal parts as Patricia was. But actually, I think her dialogue delivery is better. So, it's like half and half. Pick your poison, but I don't think she's any less of a good Kristen. And let's face it, Kristen wasn't the most deeply established character there was. I mean, yes, we got some inkling of what was going on with her, but it was mostly, I'm scared, and then I'm fighting Freddy. There wasn't much depth to her, to be honest with you. So, okay, so we get established with a nice little scene here in front of a creepy house that she some reason walks into.
Where's Freddy?
He's not home.
I'm sure as heck not walking in that house. I don't care how hard it's raining. Find another house. But, so we're treated to an initial dream sequence where, once again, we are in the old Thompson house. The Thompson house is like the Myers house now for some reason. I've already gone to the past why, I don't know why this is a thing now, but it just is. We have to learn to accept it, right? So she goes through the nightmare house, and all the familiar things are happening. You know, she's getting scared. She's hearing noises. She's thinking Freddy's around every turn, but he's not. And eventually, she gets blown down in the boiler room. A very interesting scene there. And she finally gets so freaked out that she calls her friends. She uses her dream power, and she pulls our two surviving Elm Street children back into the dream world. Yes, that's right. Reprising their roles from the last movie. Same actors and everything. We have Joey, played by Rodney Eastman, and Kincaid, played by Ken Sagos. They both come back, and they both do a pretty good job here. I will say right now that I like Sagos much better in this movie than I did in the last one. For whatever reason, he just seems more natural, and he has a little bit of jackassery about him, but he's not a dick like he was in the third one. I can never forgive him for letting that guy sleepwalk himself to death. But so they both come in, and they're understandably a bit perturbed, right?
Oh shit, Kristen, not again.
I'm sorry, Kincaid.
So they kind of say, you know, there's nothing going on here. There's no Freddy. And then who would make a guest appearance but none other than Jason in this movie? That's right, Jason the dog. Slight little nod there by naming the dog Jason, I guess. But he makes everybody wake up, basically, after his little Cujo moment, shall we say. So the next day, Kristen goes to school. She's apparently still in high school. And she goes to pick up her friend, and we're introduced to Alice. Alice is played by Lisa Wilcox. And Alice is very meek and mild. You can tell right away, and mousy, you know, dressed very conservatively, you know, big long skirt and all that, and perfectly straight hair and all that. Doesn't look up too much, real non-assuming. Her dad apparently has a drinking problem. They show him porn. Basically, it's like a Bloody Mary at like 8 in the morning. He's getting ready to go to work, so yeah, obviously he's got a problem. And we're also introduced to Kristen's boyfriend, who happens to be Alice's brother. His name is Rick, played by Andros Jones. So, all right, gang's all here. Let's go to school. So they set up a little bit of, you know, fun hijinks here. Here's where we get to meet everybody and get at least one personality trait or quirk that's going to fall into the ironic kills later down the road. All right, we're introduced to Sheila, that's Toy Newkirk, the stereotypical nerd girl, right?
How can you write this health hazard? You know, it's no wonder that you have asthma.
So she has asthma. Gee, I don't know if that'll come into play later. And then we also introduced to Debbie. Debbie's played by Brooke Thies, and she makes mention that she likes to work out, and she also has this very inserted scene here where she finds a bug in her potato chips, whatever, and she just loses her mind, man.
So disgusting.
Hey, Supergirl, it's dead. Give a bug a break.
So I wonder if that's going to come into play later on. I don't know.
Oh, that's sarcasm. That is awesome.
But, so, yeah, that's basically almost everybody. And we also get a brief glimpse of the hunk of the film, the love interest of Lisa. That's Dan, played by Danny Hassel. Very convenient. He looks like the, you know, all-American high school quarterback, you know, kind of guy. And it's interesting that she's pining after him, and it shows her initially as a daydreamer, to the fact that she's like almost lost in her daydream. She's so deep into it.
Earth to Alice. Earth to Alice. Hey, you spacing again?
Rick, please.
Well, tell you what, he's a friend of mine. I'll introduce you.
Rick?
So that kind of is a character trait that we established with her, too. She's not too good with reality. Life is not so good for her, and she's not too good at dealing with it. So, yeah. So into school everyone goes about their business, and whilst Kristen is getting her books out of a locker, Kincaid and Joey pay her a visit. Apparently they go to the same school. Convenient.
Hi, guys.
Hi, guys. That's all you have to say after last night?
and basically chastise her pretty good, you know.
You got this freako talent to bring folks into your dream, but we don't need it anymore. Time to start living like regular people.
Saying that maybe you better not be going back in there. You might just stir him back up, remember? But we beat him. He's dead. He's gone. They don't believe her. They don't want nothing to do with it. Stop pulling us into your dreams.
Yeah, let it rest. I mean, did it ever occur to you that if you keep going in, you might stir him up again?
And she's like, nope, he's coming back. She's trying to warn him.
You better be careful. I'm telling you, he's coming back.
She feels something is just wrong here. And then as they break up this little tete-a-tete, Rick comes in with a nice little one-liner. Probably the funniest line of the movie, man.
Here comes your boyfriend. Can he give you a good night's sleep?
We don't kiss and tell. How about you guys?
He really gets under old Kincaid's goat right there. But I like how, as an aside here on Kincaid and Joey, Joey seems really, I hate to use the word natural, but he seems like someone who's been through things and now is calm about it, you know? Because he seems real quiet, reserved, but meaningful, you know what I mean? But while Kincaid is still kind of bombastic and overly animated, Joey's very, I know he's quiet in the last movie, he didn't speak, but I mean, it's just, he has this really calm demeanor about him here. I kind of dig it. It's like he's been through something, you know what I mean? So I like the way he's played in it, but you don't see a whole lot of him, especially after this. So let's go to school. We see a nice little indicator that Freddy is indeed coming back by, I don't know if this is supposed to be like just something the audience sees. Apparently they don't pay any attention to it. So I think it's just for the audience, but the big claw marks across the lockers looks very cool though. So transform. It's nighttime. Time for people to go to sleep. And right here is one of the better parts of the movie. Let me get right out and say it here. This movie isn't really scary, and there's no real ominous dread in this movie. Like in 1 and 3, there was serious ominous dread. I hate to repeat myself there, but when Englund was getting ready to fall asleep, you felt it for them, and they built it up so much that things were so bad in there that you were like, don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep, don't go to sleep. Well, in this one, it's supposed to be better, but we as the audience know better, and the next person to fall asleep is going to be Kincaid. But they play this really nice, ominous synth string music that lets people know that something's up bad. And once he gets in there, yeah, it's time to get this movie started. So basically, he wakes up in a junkyard. Junkyard is where they buried Freddy's body in the last movie. At least the people that were in the real world did. Apparently he knows this somehow. I don't know how, but whatever. And his best friend, Jason, is there digging up, looks like the spot where they buried Freddy.
Jason?
And then he does something that people just harp about nonstop. He pisses fire on the ground and Freddy is resurrected. Now, before I get into any further, people just, I don't know why this bothers people so much. I mean, I think it plays two roles. From a little bit of research, I know they wanted to incorporate the idea of a hellhound in here to show how evil Freddy was, you know. And they did that in part 2, by the way, too. They had those stupid-looking hellhounds outside of the boiler room area at the end. But I think there's even a further thing in here. It's just like, just letting Kincaid know how alone he is. His one friend he has in the dream with him, the dog, turns on him and resurrects Freddy. So it's like his best friend is the one that is basically his ultimate demise. I think there's a nice little jest in there somewhere. So Jason pitches fire, hauls butt, and Freddy is reborn in a very cool reanimation scene, very similar to Hellraiser from a few years earlier. And looks great. It's well choreographed, and well, more like well shot, but well sequenced. There we go. So Kincaid hauls butt. He's like, oh, he's resin. I'm out of here. So he goes hide, and he does a little back and forth with Freddy, but not very much. He thinks he gets the upper hand for a second, and this is Fred Krueger. Come on, he's not going to get the upper hand in the dream world. So he's running around, and the whole junkyard is basically working against him. It's cutting off his routes of egress and exit, and it's just working against him. And then he finally is just surrounded by these gigantic junkies. He can't go anywhere. He realizes his time is up. He does this scream, trying to warn everybody, or Kristen, that Freddy's back, right? When it does, this camera does this pull away from Earth shot. It's freaking amazing. One of the best shots, maybe the best shot in the entire movie or series. Where it pulls back, and while you think he's just in this regular-sized junkyard, right, Kincaid is, no. It pulls back all the way to basically the curvature of the Earth up in orbit, and the entire planet is a junkyard. Everything is a junkyard. Just so cool, and it shows you how much power Freddy has in the dream world. Amazing scene. I know it's a matte painting, but it looks so good. The transition's perfect. And then Freddy moves in. So I'm going to do some spoiler alerts right now, all right? So if you have not seen this movie, want to see it fresh, probably stop watching now, but make sure you come back and watch it when you're done watching the movie. Because I'm going to give away some spoilers. I won't tell you the ending and all that, but I will talk about some things that happen that are important. So right here, Kincaid bites it, right? Freddy doesn't waste any time. He walks right in there and basically just guts him. He just sticks him in the stomach, right? But he does something in this scene that I don't know if it was an improv or if it was written like this, but it was really interesting, and it was something I had never seen him do before or since in movies. Well, first off, he does one of the few good one-liners in this one that's not like corniness, right? Because Kincaid, he knows he's bit it, and he's got the blades up in his belly, and he's like, I'll see you in hell. And then Freddy just says, well, that missed a beat. Just tell him Freddy sent you.
I'll see you in hell.
Tell him Freddy sent you.
It's like, oh man, it's on now. He doesn't care. There's no false bravado is going to bother me. And so he finishes up the coup de grace, and as Kincaid's dying, he pulls him in. He grabs the back of his head real gentle, like a baby, and puts him on his shoulder and gives him a few pats on the head.
One down, two to go.
And he's like, one down, two to go, whatever. But it's like, that scene is so amazing, because it's almost like Freddy has always thought of him as his children, the ones he's killing. It's like, it's weird. I know he's always called them that. Hey, you are all my children or whatever. But that one right there, it's like, the only way I could show comfort is killing you first, and then I can show some comfort to you. It's just a really wacky scene, man. So Kincaid is goner. So Freddy is, I guess, learned from mistakes, and he's not wasting any time. He goes right after Joey next, and in another really inventive scene where Joey's fancy girl that's on the wall over there shows up naked in his waterbed. So, of course, it's Freddy faking, so once he toys with him enough, he then pulls Joey down and finishes him off. But this is, unfortunately, the start of the one-liners. These are really comedic. Now, after all the ones we heard earlier, this is where it really starts going like completely cornball. This is where the "How's this for a wet dream" line comes from, which gets reused in other movies too, which is a shame. But I mean, it's not bad, but yeah, it really takes you out of it. But anyway, all right. 2 down, 1 to go. So now we have left is Kristen, and Kristen knows that she's going to school, and now they're not there. They're both gone. She's like, oh gosh, I know they're dead. They're dead. We got to make a plan. And she's telling other people about what's going on with Freddy, but no one's believing her. And basically, she has a little dialogue with Alice about dreams and stuff that kind of portents to the future.
How do you know so much about dreams?
Well, when it's all you have, you kind of become an expert.
But I'll leave some stuff on the for the movie for you to see. So later on, we find out that Kristen's mom drugs her. She wants her to go to sleep, for goodness sakes. And she's like, oh gosh, Mom, you just killed me. It's like, oh gosh, man, that sucks. So she goes upstairs and she remembers what Alice says. She tries to dream herself somewhere fun, somewhere nice to control the dream. And it works okay for a few seconds. But Freddy still invades the dream and sends her on a merry chase throughout the house. But Freddy's kind of wised up a little bit here. He didn't just offer. He wants to have her pull someone else in because he can only get, apparently, to the nightmares of the Elm Street kids. Why this worked in part 2... Remember, I don't count that movie as canon or even as the movie in the series. But, so he toys with her and he petrifies her so much that she finally just relents and brings Alice in by accident.
How sweet, fresh meat.
And now he has access to her now, apparently. So he thinks that, I guess, Kristen's usefulness is done. So this part doesn't make much sense. He should have woken her up or just let her go so she could keep bringing people in, but maybe he thought she was going to get too strong for that and she wouldn't keep doing it. And Alice looks meek and mild right at the beginning, so, but it doesn't make sense. He kills her. So he might only have access to one other person. So, but, and something completely new to the series also, Kristen shoots this energy through Freddy and it goes into Alice, and then she absorbs it, and apparently she has some measure of Kristen's powers now. She doesn't know it yet, but she does. Freddy figures this out later, though, to great effect. So we go back out, and now all the Elm Street kids are dead. Everyone's kind of moping and talking. This is used to set up some of the characters a little bit. We learn really how unhappy Alice is. She's got this diner job, and Dad drinks too much. Mom's gone. Basically, those few friends that she had basically seem like they were her life. Her brother is like her only real lifeline. They have a great relationship, those two. I really like them. They seem believable as brother and sister. And basically, brother's almost like the dad in the house because Dad's just drunk.
Christ, Alice, try to think a little more.
He's no good for anything. What's with the drunk parents in this series? They're all hardcore alcoholics, right?
Yeah, I can think of how sick I am watching you drink your life away and taking it out on me.
Alice.
But so we get to we learn that Rick is like a martial arts guy. He loves karate, jeet kune do, whatever it is he's practicing. He's got Japanese hangings up there, but it looks like he's doing jeet kune do, so I don't know, whatever it is. But anyway, he's a karate dude. And I really like Andrus Jones' portrayal of Rick in this. He's pretty good, I'd say. He seems generally affable. He seems like a decent guy. I don't know. I like him. So at this point now, Lisa doesn't know, but she's a ticking time bomb as far as the kids that are around her. So, for whatever reason, kids are falling asleep around her that she knows her friends are, like ones in class. I think Sheila is the first one to go. She stays up at night cramming for a final, then falls asleep in class. Alice falls asleep in class, and then Freddy has access to her, in which is what's a pretty funny scene. This classroom scene is one of the first scenes where you really see Freddy in long takes. He's in there in frame quite a bit. And once again goes on to drop a quirp, and then or a quip, excuse me, not quirp. Goes to drop a quip and then does the ironic kill here. Pretty cool effects too. I like the stuff he does on the paper, making the numbers jump around and all that. That's really cool. And so she's a goner. Alice wakes up, and I think she's kind of figured out what's going on because she was awake and looking at Sheila during the nightmare, right? But she goes in and picks up the bug zapper, the bug chaser aware that she was creating for Debbie. So I don't think she just didn't realize she's doing it right now, right? So next up to bite the bullet is it Danny or Debbie? I can't remember who dies first. I just watched this last night too, but I think it was Danny next. So basically, he falls asleep in the John and gets transported to the Nightmare Realm. Again, apparently Alice is sleeping somewhere. And so he meets his maker in a compromise scene. Basically, they want to do a completely different death scene with him, but they didn't have any budget. They ran out of money. This is like some of the last shots of the film. So they had him fight Invisible Freddy in like this, Japanese tea house dojo kind of place.
A true warrior needs no eyes.
I didn't think it was that awful. I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, it's better than an off-screen kill or some crap like they did with the cutaway in like the first Friday the 13th or something. So a little bit hokey, but not too bad. And it's a fitting end for him. He gets some licks in, right? And so she absorbs, or Alice absorbs him too, still not knowing it. So she goes home, and there's a couple interesting scenes. Oh, I meant to say before Rick bought it, there's a really wacky little tidbit I saw in here. I read about it somewhere, but I never noticed this. It's so hard to see. But when Rick is trying to teach her a little bit of karate,
Like that, big and strong. Do it.
Sorry!
Good, but Allison, you must have balance.
one of her shoes flies off, right, and it lands in the fish tank. And in a funny little scene. Well, if you look down the bottom, I think it's the left-hand side. I'll try to put arrows somewhere in there. There's like a little Freddy glove in there, with claws and everything. It's wow, so tiny and it's so brief you can miss it in a heartbeat. But there's little things like that through different parts of this movie. So she goes home, and a really nice nod to the great soundtrack in this movie. Like, the best song on this whole soundtrack, or in this whole movie, is Anything by Dramarama, right? It's the song is playing while Rick is doing his karate in the garage, right? Well, she goes home, and I guess she feels some need to hold Rick's things, right? He's dead. So she starts picking up his nunchucks, and all of a sudden, there's a real slow fade in of that same song start playing. Then she starts whipping the nunchucks around. She's like, she doesn't know how she's able to do it. It's like,
What's happening to me?
great scene, man. And so she's figured out kind of somewhat what she needs to do, and she needs to protect, like, Debbie's, like, it's basically a Hall of Friends she has to protect. So they're all going to get together, have a plan. She's held up. And apparently Debbie falls asleep, and I guess Alice falls asleep too, and the boyfriend falls asleep, Dan. Everyone just falls asleep. And so the next one to get it is Debbie, and she gets it in the way that was established earlier, ironically. I'm not even going to tell you how it is, because it's very unique. It's odd, very odd, but it's very unique. So when she goes, bam, Alice absorbs her too. I guess her toughness and whatever else she should supply. So now she's getting quite this collection of people's power. She like the intelligence and the gadgetry of Sheila. She got like the endurance and toughness of Debbie. She's getting the martial arts prowess of her brother Rick. She has the powers of Kristen, who in her dream power, she also was like a super gymnast or whatever too. They didn't show it in this movie, but not to mention the pulling people in the dream. So now, and then there were two. So there's a car wreck, long story short, and Dan is going to the hospital. They got to put him in surgery, and eventually he's got to go to sleep. So she goes running home, and in great 80s style has this little montage of her like putting on different parts or like knickknacks of her friends. And then, obviously, she's gearing up for the final fight. So, really cool 80s scene. That's just how it is. And then she takes some sleeping pills, jumps into save the day. Basically, she becomes the protector. I really love her transitions. I'll talk more about that later. But basically, she has to go in and save Dan because he's dead next, right? Because she pulled him in too. So they go back in. Dan doesn't last too long. He takes a big spill, and for some reason, the surgeons wake him up while he's hemorrhaging. I don't get that, but my medical degree is not exactly on the wall behind me, so what do I know? So it's just Freddy and Alice, mano a mano.
Welcome to Wonderland, Alice.
And it's all done in this really cool set, like an old Gothic cathedral church that's seen better days. And there's like red and green thunder lightning going all over the place. It's just a really cool looking area. I like it a lot. And this is where we find the culmination of what's happening to Alice. She's become like the perfect warrior, right? So she has all the traits I talked about earlier. And she just comes off as a badass, but not like this snarling, smirking badass. She just is. It's like it's all just completely natural to her. And she really hands it to Freddy. Unfortunately for her, nothing she does can really hurt him. This is still his world. At most, it stuns him for a few seconds, and then he moves on. She even blows a hole right through him, and he's still able to recover. So, but it's a great fight. It also has the best line I think Freddy has ever uttered in any of the films. I love it so much.
I am eternal.
When he utters that, I am eternal, and he does it like with it, like every step he takes closer to her, it kind of shows you that he's not just like a mindless killer and like, you know, an ADIQ kind of killer. He's a little higher. And not like eternal is a tough word, but I mean, you don't hear it used a ton. And so he just knows. He knows how powerful he is. Beautiful touch there. I love the way he delivers the line, too. So luckily for Alice, she figures out a way to deal with him.
You're dead, Krueger!
And in doing so, gives the best ending of Freddy in any of the movies. 3 was more like powerful, I guess, but 4 was just a special effects phenom, and it was such a cool idea. The way she does it is not so awesome, but whatever, you know, we'll take it. Just so cool. And the funny thing is, I didn't mention her earlier, but there's also some more horror royalty that makes an appearance here. That's right, making a special breast appearance. Linnea Quigley is seen here as one of the people coming out of Freddy's chest. I wonder how we're going to be able to spot her. So yeah, good to see you, Linnea. That you add a little, you add a little something to the movie. I love it. But you know, happy ending. Or is it? Of course, we're giving a little teaser at the end, stating that, hey, looks like there might be some more action in the near future. So, but it's a very satisfying ending up till then, and that's basically the movie. So, end of spoilers for the most part. Let's get into some things that I think make this movie great. Let's talk about some pros. The characters are pretty good. Now, you don't see much of Sheila, Debbie, or Dan, really. But everyone else gets a fair amount of screen time, and I think they do really well with what they're given. Like I said, I really like Rick, the character Rick, played by Andros Jones. He seems very paternal and just very, he seems like he's having a good time in the role. I really like that. He looks like the kind of older brother you'd like to have, you know. The returning characters of Joey and Kincaid are played well. I didn't mind Kristen, Tuesday Night's rendition at all. Like I said, I didn't like her nonverbal performances nearly as much, but I think she gave her lines better than Patricia did. But, you know, of course, Robert Englund is sheer perfection in the role.
Your shift is over.
And despite the goofiness they gave him, he still delivers. I mean, and not just in line delivery, he just delivers. He is such a good Freddy in this.
You've got their power. I've got their souls. Come on.
And he's given a little more room here to improvise, I think. And like, I like the way he walks. You actually get to see him walking around, and it's just like he has this way of doing it that it's like, it's perfect, man. Everything about this guy exudes menace, right? Even when he's smiling ear to ear. It's a masterful performance. But I'll say this, this is Alice's movie, and mostly Freddy's just in it. I love the character of Alice. This is how you do a final girl right? Alice has basically what is the Joseph Campbell, I'd make an invert out of it, the Joseph Campbell hero's journey here, right? She starts out as meek and mild and mousy, plain Jane, always looking down and stuff, not assertive, authoritative at all. Toward the mid parts, when she starts collecting people, she doesn't know it, she starts acting a little more sure of herself, and while at the same time picking up traits of other people.
I don't smoke.
And at the end, she has this like kind of cold-eyed knowledge of just how badass she is. And she is. It's perfect. But she doesn't have like this sneer about her, like she's better than Freddy or everybody else. She just looks confident and determined and resolved, because she has to be able to fight him off or she's dead, right? It's just a great, great heroine, and Lisa Wilcox plays her very well, I think. She doesn't go over the top on either side of the spectrum. She's reserved in the beginning, and she's kind of reserved in the end. I think it's purposeful, and I like it. I like the character of Alice. She's a perfect foil for Freddy at the end. He's the one making the jokes and quips, and she's the one that's all business. Great hero story there. It was nice to see her return too later on, but even just in a standalone movie, I liked her a lot. I liked the character. And it was nice to see someone put Freddy on his back heel, even if it's only for just a little while. So it was nice. Really cool stuff. Movie looks amazing. Especially the budget of the movie is, I think, $13 million. So it had a real budget this time, and they made it work. They used all that money. You can tell all the props look great. The only stuff that really looks even really bad is like some of the green screen they had to do with like the wounds on Freddy's chest when she punched a hole through him. That looks a little hokey. It is what it is. Once again, pre-CGI stuff. So. Movie looks incredible. A lot of really cool sets. Might be a little too well lit in some of the dream sequences. That might be one of my few complaints for the look of it, but great camera work and just great look overall. Inventive deaths, really tame. There's like almost no blood whatsoever in this movie, but inventive and creative. There's none of them make you wince. Unless you don't like insects, but you'll know that when you see it. Nothing like in the third or the first one. Those will make you wince. These don't. You could almost like run this on network TV by removing the nudity, and then you'd be fine. But inventive nonetheless. Just really cool dream sequences.
One time my uncle dreamt he was dancing with a whale, and when he woke up, our cow had eaten his pants.
I like the scene where she's in the movie theater and she flies into the movie screen. That's awesome, man. That's just cool imagery like that is amazing. Robert Englund, they turned him loose in this one because my gosh, he ran away with it. He made that character so much his own, it's ridiculous.
The usual.
He chews up every scene he's in, and the camera's on him quite a bit in this movie as opposed to other ones. His makeup looks great. It probably looks best in this movie than it ever has or will after. The music, the soundtrack is probably the strongest in the series. I wouldn't say, well, I'd say the score is stronger in one, but this one's a really good one, and it's got a great licensed soundtrack. It's amazing stuff. It's so 80s. I mean, Debbie's hair has like 16 pounds of Aqua in it just to hold it up the size that it is. It's glorious. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. so many pros here that, yeah, I could, like I said, forever and ever. Makeup effects are amazing. All right, I've sung praise. Let's talk about some cons. All right, this movie does have a few issues. The comedy, yeah, but with a caveat. Freddy is a joke machine in this movie, and he has a little bit of silliness involved with him. The beach scene with him putting on sunglasses it was ignorant. I think he did that for billboards and for commercials. Is the only reason they did it. But yeah, it takes you out of it so much. And what could otherwise be a great scene. The diner scene is a little bit.
If food don't kill you, the service will.
It's cool, but it's only cool because you get to watch Freddy for a long take, you know. But yeah, he's a jokester in this movie. Not as bad as he's gonna get. And here's where I want to like get on some people, because everyone's like, "Oh, it was this movie that started it all. This is where Freddy turned into the joke machine." No, it wasn't. He started that in 3. He told just as many jokes in 3. He did a quip, an ironic quip, before every single kill in 3. He does it here too. He just has a little more screen time, so you see a little more out of it. They were a little more jokey in this one and less dark than they were in the last one, but still. So for those who say this was just a comedic romp, well, this isn't where it started. I'm sorry to tell you that. It's just that he wasn't really scary in this one. That's the other con. Freddy, there was just no sense of dread in this movie as there was in like the first 3 movies. Once again, not counting 2. And some of that is the levity, the lightness of the humor, the tame kills and all that. So yeah, there's some trade-off there. The more you see of him and the more he gets to talk, the more human he seems, and just less scary overall. When he was almost completely silent in the first one, he was terrifying. So it's just, once again, I think it was planned this way just to get more butts in seats. You know, if people are funny scared but not really scared, you can get a lot more people in there paying for tickets, right? It makes sense to me. Not a big fan of it, but it's certainly no worse than 3 as far as comedic elements, other than the few of the scenes I mentioned earlier. Other bad? I mean, there's not a ton. I mean, there's like a draggy scene toward the center where there's they're at a funeral and all that. That could have done without that. But most of the other time it just moves. Yeah, I can't think of a ton of other stuff wrong with it. So what do I think about this movie? I think this movie is great. This movie is so fun to watch. This movie is easily the most accessible of the series because it still has the quality of the earlier ones and a little more of the friendliness factor of the later ones. So if you were liking the latter part of that, you'll find it here. And if you're liking some elements of the first half of the series, or the first couple movies of the series, you'll find that here too. I think it's a really almost perfect blend of it. Is it scary? No. Is it dread-inducing? No. It's not ominous, really. The only ominous scene, I think, is right when Kincaid first falls asleep and when Freddy's rezzing. It's like, oh, gosh. He knows he's in for it. So that was pretty terrifying because you don't know what's going to happen in this movie. You don't know what's going to happen later on down the road. So, yeah, this movie is just so fun. If I was to have somebody watch this series for the first time and they weren't sure if they were going to like it, I'd probably show them this one first. If they weren't like a big fan of really scary movies, I wouldn't show them the first one. And I certainly wouldn't show them any movies after this. There may be New Nightmare, right? So I think this is the easiest one for people to get into who have never been part of the series. And really, honestly, it's the most enjoyable one for me. I mean, 1 is a better movie. Let me get that out right now. 1 is a better film. It's a better horror movie. But this movie is a lot more fun. It's probably something I would definitely just pop in a lot more often than I would the first one just to watch. Because you can watch this 4 in the afternoon, 1 in the morning. It doesn't matter. It's just a movie for all times, you know, where you only would watch the first one at night in a darkened room, you know. This movie just works. It's got a nice pace. I like the characters. I love the music. Freddy's in a lot of scenes, which is nice. Special effects look amazing to this day. And I can't think a whole lot wrong with it. I mean, other than it completely eschewing the scariness factor, which is it's a big sin in the horror circles, right? But I mean, other than that, if you can get past it and just get over yourself, this is a lot like Jason X. It's just a fun popcorn movie, and this is not to its detriment. I think it does it very well. It's miles better than what comes after it. Let me tell you that. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one. If it was just a Friday 13th, there I did it again. If it's just a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I would give this a 5. Like just in that little circle there, 5 out of 5 stars. But as an overall movie, I'm gonna give this a 4. It's highly entertaining. It looks good, it sounds good, and it's something that I would not feel embarrassed showing people. This is not even like a so bad it's good kind of movie. It's just a pretty good movie with horror elements and a very recognizable pop character. So this movie gets way too much hate for the wrong reasons. If you're going to hate it for something else other than... I mean, the comedy is a valid point, right? But if you don't like the comedy in this one, you probably shouldn't like number 3 either then, and give it hell, even though it was darker and more visually interesting probably than this movie is. It's... Don't hate on one and I hate on the other. That's all I'm saying, because 3 wasn't blameless. Some people put 3 in this pedestal like it was untouchable and unassailable, and it had its problems. And they weren't... This one wasn't much more egregious in problems than that. So, yes, Comedic Freddy was bad, but not awful, and it shouldn't really take you out of the movie completely. So, give this movie a try, no matter what the critics or the fanboys will say, and you might surprise yourself. And, let me down comments below if you think I'm just full of it here, or maybe if you, upon reflection, you think, well, maybe these crimes aren't too egregious. Maybe I can get past it and actually enjoy it. Because even if it's not scary, is it still enjoyable to you? I mean, a lot of people watch a horror movie that's not scary. Like American Werewolf in London, that's more funny than scary. And it still has a horrifying element or two in there, mostly in the stalking scenes, but it's nothing really scary about that movie, right? And it's still watched and still loved by horror fans, so I think this movie could be too. Just get over yourself a little bit and enjoy it for what it is. It's just a great looking popcorn horror movie, and yeah, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Technically, you don't even have to have seen the other ones in the series to know what's going on. I mean, everyone knows who Freddy is by now, what he can do. But if you want the crash course, which you probably saw earlier in my review, Freddy can invade your dreams and kill you, and Kristen has the power to pull people in dreams. That's all you need to know. Everything else, you can just learn on the fly, because there's nothing else to know. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up now. I'm losing my voice, but wow, my second review came out 10 minutes longer than my first one, so go figure. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more review content on the channel, because those of you who know, if I can review it, I will do it. I got more comic book review stuff, music reviews, movies, you name it. I got a lot to do, a lot of stuff on the plate. Plus, I got, 4 more movies in the Nightmare series to go through, so my work is never done. So anyway, thanks again. Until next time, this is Genome. Just hoping he doesn't get stuck working as a waitress for all eternity. Out.